It's going to be a little more wait and see after college football power brokers met today in Chicago. There were discussions talking about playoff expansion. The thing is, though, we were originally scheduled today for a vote. That was postponed. The hope, though, that there could be some kind of framework coming out of these meetings that could eventually lead to playoff expansion. Taking a look now, the proposal for a 12-team playoff model was presented back on June 10th, but plenty, of course, has changed since then across the college football landscape. Texas and Oklahoma headed to the SEC in 2025, 4 other schools then joining the Big 12. Our college football playoff reporter, Heather Dinich, joins us now. And Heather, a lot to talk about given what was supposed to happen, what has happened. Where are we and what took place in these meetings today?
Well, Wendy, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby actually popped in the media room here and said, we're going to be a while. They have a lot to talk about. And while there is a lot of positivity and the general sense is that they are going to ultimately wind up at a 12-team playoff at some point, what they're talking about today are the obstacles, which are plenty. The academic calendar, how a postseason with 12 teams would conflict with final exams. If it's possible, and it is, that they play a 17th game, the health and welfare of the student athletes, although that's a remote possibility. The bowl games, particularly the Rose Bowl, which wants to cling to its media rights and that January 1 time slot. And Wendy, of course, at the heart of these conversations is a TV contract. A source told me that all 11 people, the 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick, want to open this up to multiple TV partners. If they do that before the end of this 12-year contract, ESPN would have to agree to it.
Always about the money, Heather. That's just kind of the way it works out. Any timeline here for a resolution?
Well, look, like I said, Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick told me that he believes the playoff is going to expand. When and what it looks like is what they're trying to hash out. The earliest possible date, technically, is 2023, but we're pushing up against that border right now. So the more realistic scenario, if it were to happen before the end of this contract, is the 2024-25 season. Again, the TV contracts are at the heart of these discussions, and whether or not they can open it up to multiple broadcast partners is part of that, ESPN, and whether or not they can negotiate some type of agreement.
Greg, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, I agree with Heather, and we'll likely get there, but there's been holdups, and there are a lot of hoops to jump through. What's your take?
Well, if I was a conference commissioner from the Big Ten, the SEC, the Pac-12, and the ACC, my biggest holdup would be whether or not we have 6 automatic qualifiers. When they initially proposed an expanded playoff field, they said, well, we're going to go to 8, and we're going to give the Power Fives, every single conference champion gets an automatic bid to the playoff. And then we'll give the top group of 5 team a bid to the playoff as well. Well, right now, the American and the Big 12, as far as the quality at the top, is for the most part indecipherable, assuming when Texas and Oklahoma eventually end up in the SEC. So my biggest pushback, if I were a conference commissioner, if you're going to 8 teams, we're not doing 6 automatic qualifiers. If we want 6 automatic qualifiers, we're going to 12 teams at a bare minimum. So that would be my biggest holdup at this point, because not all conferences are created equal. Therefore, not every conference that considers himself a, quote, Power 5 conference, not every single one should be granted that automatic qualifier status.
Well, I can tell you guys this, that there is consideration among some commissioners for an 8-team playoff, but it's not gaining a lot of traction. And sources have told me that Notre Dame and the SEC are not going to vote in favor of an 8-team playoff if it has automatic qualifiers. And obviously, Group of 5 university presidents are not going to vote for a system that doesn't give their conference champion an automatic guarantee.
Joey, listen, I know what you previously thought. Do you still think 12 is too many?
I do. I don't see the problem here with 8. I really don't see the problem here with 6. And I think that we're in a time frame right now where the Big 12 is obviously trying to figure it out. But we are never at a time frame where conferences are equal. Ohio State's been the best team in the Big Ten. Clemson's been the best team in the ACC. Alabama's been the best team in the SEC with a mix of LSU getting there, Georgia getting in, the Big 12 with Oklahoma. So I don't ever think we've been across the board had equal conferences to say that, you know, these guys deserve to be a Power 5 versus this conference not. I like getting the conference champions in, regardless of what we think would happen, because we have these arguments at the end of every single season where last season I believe that a team like Cincinnati could absolutely compete with the Power 5 teams. We're going to have these discussions every single year where we don't know if a Pac-12 champ could compete with a Big Ten champ. Let's put them in the playoff and let's find out.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.